pull yourself back in off that edge and say, hey, you've done it with odds a lot harder than this in business. And I think a lot of it, unfortunately, is the mind.
100%.
When you tell yourself you're done and all I can do is pop a pill or go see this specialist and that specialist, it's over.
Mic drop. I've spent the last 5 years talking to sick people, and you can literally tell in a conversation when they're like, I am not accepting this. This is not my life. And then I'll have other people like, I'm never getting better. And I'll always say to them, whatever you believe is true.
Welcome to the Deeper Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Howley. This is for everyone who's been dismissed, misdiagnosed, or told to just live with it and refuse to accept that answer. You're going to hear amazing patient recovery stories, raw and real in their own words. People who found answers after everything had failed them. You're going to hear from medical experts we trust that are pioneering new approaches to healing the body, because we deeply know we're designed to heal. Let's dig in.
So what I love about you, Tim, is you're just such a regular guy. And, you know, Tim is he's a really cool guy. He owned an auto body shop. I'm going to brag on you for a little bit. He knows how to fix anything. He's a home builder, but he's a guy who uses his hands and his body for his job. And I'm going to let you, why don't you tell us how this all began?
I'm just, like she said, I'm just a regular person. So I never really had ever a doctor's appointment. I never had a physician. I've never been to the hospital in my life, except for when I was born, of course. And outside of that, I just never felt the need. I've never really got sick. And this slowly but surely, you know, I'm 58 now. So I thought, well, I'm getting older. At the time, this has been in 2019 when it first started, you know, about October. But I said, oh, I'm getting older. You know, I'm up on a roof all day, pouring concrete, doing this. I'm physically active. So I'm just getting aches and pains. And, you know, but then it started getting noticeably worse at night in the middle of my sleep. I would wake up with, you know, it started out as cramps in my legs, calves. And then my one finger really started bothering me, my index finger on my right hand. I thought, well, that's odd, because usually you remember if you stoved it or you hurt it. I never did anything that I can recall. And it went on for a couple of weeks. And so I went to the, just like one of the stat cares. And they did x-rays and he came back. I said, well, nothing's broken. He goes, I don't see no arthritis in the joint or anything. He goes, you must have just stoved it. And that didn't seem right with me. But I said, okay.
Just ask me a stupid question. What does stoved it mean? Does that mean like kind
I
of jammed it up or something?
Yes. He thought
okay.
like maybe in my sleep I did that. I'm like, I think I'd remember. I'd wake up with that kind of pain. But
yeah.
He bandaged it up, put a splint on it, and then it didn't get any better. And it's been like 2 weeks, and I take the splint off, and I'm like, I have to use this hand. I work every day with the grinders and the tools. And I just let it go. You know, I'm like, well, nothing's broke. There's no arthritis, so it just must have, I don't know. So I put it off. But then one night I woke up again in the middle of the night, and this time I had a golf ball size. It just started real small in my upper groin area. And I took a few steps out of bed, and it just brought me to my knees. It just locked up. In that area, I could not get rid of that cramp. It was massive. And I still to this day, I remember the pain. And I said, oh, this isn't no good. But, you know, there again, I go back to work the next day and back up on the roofs and the ladders. And then out of nowhere, probably was 2 or 3 weeks after that, in the middle of the night, I woke up and that was it. I knew, boy, something's really wrong. I could not lift my shoulders. My wrists were just gone. I couldn't push myself up out of bed. Everything ached. I mean, I couldn't get my hands up high enough to comb my hair or brush my teeth. It was that agonizing. And I used my elbows, I remember, to get up then. Because that's the only thing that didn't hurt, my elbow joints.
I remember talking to your wife at that time, and
yes.
She was saying he's becoming totally debilitated. Like he cannot open the car door. He cannot dress himself.
Yeah.
This is a guy who's a home builder. And now he's not able to do anything.
Right.
So you're like, let's go to the ER? Like, what are you thinking? I mean,
Well, that's what I told her, and she goes, "Can we wait till in the morning?"
uh,
Because she's the financial person too, and I'm like, "Yeah, I can hold out till then. I mean, there's nothing they're going to do for me anyways." So we waited till in the morning, and I went there. Um, of course, they took the blood work and they looked me over and this and that. Um, and I remember him shooting me with, well, I didn't know anything about it, but he shot me with prednisone. And I thought, oh, this is great. I mean, within 5 minutes, I was healed. I thought, oh, this is the best thing ever. I'm good to go. So I went home and he said, we'll let you know when your blood results in a day or two. And he did. He called me back in a few days and he says, well, your blood came back. You have rheumatoid arthritis. I go, what? I didn't know nothing about that. I just knew it wasn't good. And I seen the people that had it and they were older and they was all debilitated. They was hunched over. I said, I have to come in and see you about this. I can't talk to you over the phone. So when I went in the next day and talked to him, he was rather just blunt and said, well, like I told you over the phone, you have rheumatoid arthritis, you have all the markers in your blood. I set you up an appointment. It's going to be 2 months before you can get into a rheumatologist to have this done. I'm like, 2 months? I got to live with this for no, you don't understand. I can't live with this kind of pain for 2 months. I have to go to work every day. It's like,
so the
well,
steroid relief was just like very short term.
yes.
Like it was just like a day or two.
Yeah, if I want to say like a day and it started
Okay. And
wearing
you're
back
like, oh
off
no,
and it
it's
came
back.
back.
Okay.
So then he shot me up when I was there and he goes, this is till you get there, we'll give you some pain meds and some pills before and then so this should keep you at bay. And I said, I really don't want to take this stuff. I've never taken medicine in my life. I don't plan on starting to be an addict now. But he assured me, well, you have to have it. You're not going to be able to function, which I took as limited amount as I possibly could because I still wanted to work and use, the hand tools and everything, not feel tired all the time, which I already did feel tired then at that point. But I went home then and explained it to my Kim, and she said, "Oh hell no, you're not going to a rheumatoid arthritis. You don't have." She goes, "So let me get this right. You woke up in the middle of the night with rheumatoid arthritis." And I said, "Well, they told me it's been coming on for a while. I just didn't pay attention to the symptoms," which I kind of thought was like. But like I said, there again, I was never to a doctor. I didn't know no medical anything. All I knew was I had to be at work. If I wasn't working,
You're
we
not
were-
paying your bills.
Right. We were
But,
going to starve.
Yeah. And real quick, so when the first joint pain started, like how long was it between that and then when you ended up in the ER? Was it a couple months or was that
I want to say a couple months. My finger was the very first
Okay.
symptom, then the muscle cramps, but the finger, it lingered for a good month or two. And then it just, like I said, and then in my mind, I'm thinking, well, maybe that's what he meant. Maybe he meant it was only a couple months. That's when it started. But I'm still thinking, this does not make any sense because I am pretty much useless. I mean, even to get down at lunchtime, which was my favorite time because I could take a break, I had to roll on my side and then use my elbows to get up. And even then, that was everything I could do just get back up. So nighttime, I'll never forget, was the absolute worst because you are dead tired and all you want to do is lay down. But to lay down on either side of the shoulders was just, I got so bad. I started getting them egg crates, the foam, and would set them on the bed thinking that would help. And nothing. It was, I said,
So now you can't even rest.
no, you couldn't
Literally,
even, you
you're
was dead
really,
tired and you
like-
couldn't rest. You was just, I mean, I had already told myself, this is not the route I'm going. If this is my life and all I'm going to do is take a shot or pills, you might as well shoot me now because, I mean, that's how I felt. I wasn't going to live like, there's no way. My whole life, I've never sat still. I've always worked with my hands. And now I think the only thing you're going to take away my hands, my only source I have, no, there's no way. Luckily, Kim, she did the research and she was looking and she found, she goes, there's somebody in here that had something similar and he was so bad. He was a triathlon and she had talked to him and he had said, I went to a holistic doctor up in Myrtle Beach. And I said, sign me up. I'll try anything. So she set up an appointment. I went up there and I never realized how bad a doctor or a so-called doctor could be. I mean, he was the point of, he gave me everything under the sun. He says, I think you got Lyme disease. I don't think it's rheumatoid arthritis, but it's mimicking it, blah, blah, blah. I can't say you have it because you only have 2 of the parasites in you. You don't have all of the markers, but nobody does. The time you get them, you'll be done. if you go by their standards. So he gave me a bunch of pills and holistic antibiotics for over a month. And with that came even worse pain.
Oh, wow.
I went from, I thought I couldn't get any worse, to kidney stones. And then I found out kidney stones can be worse.
So now you
Oh,
can't
geez.
sleep, you can't move, and you have kidney
Yes. And now I have
stones.
kidney
Oh, my
stones on
gosh.
top of it because of all the stuff he gave me. And then on top of it, when I got the kidney stones, I never had kidney stone in my life, so I had no idea. I tried calling him, and the office says, "Oh, sir, we see here you didn't sign up for the premium package. In order to talk to the doctor, there's an extra $5,000 you need to pay, and he's not available to anyone who hasn't paid that premium."
Oh,
I'm like,
jeez.
oh, no, this is not the guy for me. And then when she said, well, he actually lives in your area, he's on vacation in Kiowa, his house is. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure he is, with the money these people are paying for no help. So then I said, well, I'm kind of don't know what to do at this point. And like I said, with the kidney stones, I didn't realize what I had. So I went to the emergency room that night with that. They're probably looking at me like I'm some kind of pill popper. I just want, some meds. But I said, just give me something, anything to get rid of this pain in the kidney stones now. I don't care about the other pain. And they gave me morphine, which that lasted about 15 minutes. And then they had to, I said, it's back. I said, she goes, we can't give you any more morphine. You've at your limit. I said, you better give me something because I must just leave at this point. Well, they finally gave me another shot. And then I didn't realize 4 days later that medicine will back you up. Certain people. What they should have did, and the doctor was decent about it in the ER, said, I'm sorry. Because I had to go back then in the emergency room because I 4 days, no poop, and it was not good. So he had said, we should have given you this medicine that would counteract, because certain people get.
Yeah, like a stool softener or
Yes.
something to help
We should have
things
gave
move
you
through.
something we didn't realize. So that was even more excruciating because then they couldn't give you meds. He had to do it all manually and extract the poop. I'm like,
Oh, my goodness.
I wanted to just cry then. I'm like, okay, this is not working. Now I'm 10 times worse than I was. Now I can't even,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do at this point. I've tried, the medical doctors, I tried the holistic, and I'm like, well, Kim, she kept working at it. She goes, let's just go here. This one's local. It's close. One of her girlfriend's a nurse, and she said this holistic doctor's just new and opened up. And
This is how you found deeper
this
healing?
is how I found deeper healing. I'm like, oh, here we go again. And I told myself I had health insurance, so I'm like, we're fine. And then she tells me they don't take health insurance. You have to pay cash. I'm like, and then I thought about it. I'm like, in my own mind, I'm like, well, dumbass. What good is it if you have health insurance and you use it and they make you worse? You may as well just pay whatever it takes at this point and get healed, because without getting healed, you're done anyways. So it was a no-brainer. Everybody says, oh, I don't want to try that route because of the financial part. I'm like, I'm telling you, if maybe you're not hurt enough or you're not feeling enough pain, because when you get to that point, you don't care what it costs to get healed. I mean, you could have took my last nickel. I really wouldn't have cared.
I say that all the
It was
time.
miserable.
I even going through what I went through with Marty, we ended up losing. It's funny. I just looked up really quickly rheumatoid arthritis, which I'm sure you get this diagnosis is the first thing you do. It says to this day, there's no cure for rheumatoid arthritis. It's the first thing it says. So of course, I'm sure you're doing this.
Mhm.
What are my
Yes.
options? What are the things I can do for this? It literally says steroids and immunosuppressants.
Yes.
So if you're saying like, okay, I can't be cured, and now you're facing I can't work, and I'm a young guy, I still have a lot of years left. This is our main family support. This is how we live. How many people get in this situation? Marty and I were in the same situation. He had a virus that said no, there was no cure, and he was completely bedridden, unable to work. And you're sitting there like, we lost years. We lost years before Marty got better. And you start to say to yourself, like, what's my time worth? So what are we talking about? Your appointment was probably $350.
Mhm.
Like, what are we talking about?
Mhm.
Like, let's not be, this is crazy. Sometimes I just feel like saying to people, like, what are you really talking about? Like, what is your life worth? What is time worth?
Well, then that's it. And I think some people, I know with me, I wasn't going to settle. I've never settled in my life. I mean, that's part of being your own boss and yourself and, in
Employed.
business. Yes, your whole life. That's all I knew. And luckily, Kim was saying, no, you're not. And, you have that when I first got diagnosed and I looked on that, everybody Googles and I seen rheumatoid arthritis and I seen that. I mean, I had that 15, 20 minutes of that pity party for myself by
Mhm.
myself. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm sitting in the house half built. And I'm like, how am I going to finish
How am I
this?
going to finish this
Mhm.
job? Yeah.
I'm like, and then, it really sets in, you are done. And then you have to pull yourself back in off that edge and say, hey, you've done it with odds a lot harder than this in business. And I think a lot of it, unfortunately, is the mind.
Mm.
100%.
When
Mm.
you tell yourself you're done and all I can do is pop a pill or go see this specialist and that specialist, it's over. I
Mic
mean,
drop.
yeah,
That's a mic drop right there. That is such a mic drop. Like, mindset's so important.
yeah,
And it's the people who are, I mean, I've spent the last 5 years talking to sick people, and you can literally tell in a conversation when they're like, I am not accepting this. This is not my life. And then I'll have other people like, I'm never getting better. And I'll always say to them, whatever you believe is true. I mean, absolutely.
yes,
And I can tell the people who are running towards a solution, they're going to get there. They're going to get there, and they're open, and they're not waiting for their insurance card to make it
yes,
better.
yes,
You got there kind of quickly, because when I look at like what do most people do with rheumatoid arthritis, they usually go down a long road of rheumatologists. They go through a long road of, all the things you're talking about, the steroids, the immune
yes,
suppressants, and that has its own slew of side effects. I mean, you had that for a little bit,
hmm
but some people go through that for years. And then they also hit the liver damage, or they hit the medications aren't working,
yes,
and now things are progressing because time has passed, and they're not better. It's just been kind of
yes,
tampered down.
yes,
So in a way, you got there quickly because of your mindset. Your mindset saved you. It got you going on the right path quicker. So, dear God, may someone hear this story of Tim's, and may it help you get there quicker.
well, that's the
You
whole,
know, I have to say it out loud. Tim was very hesitant to tell his story because he's like, I'm not a social media guy.
no,
And so we're both like super grateful that you're willing to share this, because as people know, they're Googling, there's no cure for rheumatoid arthritis. And here you are sitting here. You are cured.
yes,
You are literally cured. So let's talk a little bit about that. So you get this blood test from a physician at the ER. You have rheumatoid arthritis. This is your diagnosis. You end up eventually coming to deeper healing. Let's talk about what happened when you got there.
I know specifically when I got there, I seen Doc P and I thought, oh hell, he's so thin and fragile. How's he going to help me? I'm like, hell, he looks like me. But I just laid it all out on the line. I said, I've been here, I've been there. He goes, I want to take a blood draw and this and that, and we'll start. And I remember some of my first questions to him were, hey, if this doesn't work, this regimen you want to put me on and go through, what's the alternative? He goes, oh, I got a bunch of things in my quiver. We have a bunch of programs. We won't stop until we get. I go, really? You got other? Oh yeah. Because this is just the first of many, and we'll find out. I go, so you think there's a cure? He goes, there's a cure for everything. It's just, And I remember him saying, how's your relationship? How's your mental state?
Mm.
And I thought, okay, I can work with this guy, because he understands. Because if those things aren't in line and you're stressed out on that, and this is on top of it, yeah, it's going to be
He's
hard.
always evaluating every person under the deep, which is diet, emotion, environment, and physical. When I look at RA, it talks a lot about environmental factors, and especially someone like you who worked in auto body for over 15 years, solvents. I mean,
Yes. We'd
Pain.
wash our
I mean, I
hands
know
in
you
it.
were doing paints, you
Yep.
were doing all the things. So your chemical level would have been very high. So
Mhm.
I know he would have been looking at that. But I love that he doesn't just say, "Oh, this is someone who's got a lot of chemicals." He's also asking you about your relationship, your emotional state. How's your diet? I know you were a pretty good eater.
Mhm.
That was one thing.
Yes.
You and Kim are always like very
Yep.
good about your diet. So I love that he's always looking at the whole person,
Yes.
the whole person, not just this little diagnosis, because it's like, how do you get out of these are just names. Someone made up the name rheumatoid
Yeah.
arthritis.
Yes.
It's a name. He always says, like, I'm just pretending I'm him. He would say the diagnosis is not the disease. So he probably would say your disease was heavy chemical load, probably maybe some bacterial, viral something. So he confirmed the diagnosis. He got a blood panel and he saw, okay, he's got the markers. So everyone who's listening to this can say like, oh, I have the markers, and this guy did too. So then what was recommended for you?
After he got all the blood work back, he was number one, very surprised. My metal content was
Not too
nothing.
bad.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
He goes, and you did concrete. And I did. I had a concrete business for 10 years. So yeah, I sit in the concrete. He goes, you should be off the chart. And he said, well, everybody's different. See, your body had a way of getting rid of all that. So he goes, but I do see the markers for your rheumatoid arthritis. And I see, but that's one thing, Danielle, I will say about him, just like you said, he says, you call it what you want. You put any name you want on this. I don't care. You name it, it can be it. But we're going to start with the gut health because it's all going to go back to the autoimmune, no matter what.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
like,
mean, so
Doc,
many-
my gut never hurt in my life. I never had nothing.
It's funny. So many people, when they come in, or even when I'm talking to them, they'll always talk about their biggest pain point. So your biggest pain point would have been the finger, before the kidney
Yes.
stones. But you would talk about, that. But when we start talking a little further, they'll always say, "Oh, and I'm exhausted," or "and this and
Yes.
that and this." But I really just want to deal with my
Yeah.
rash or whatever my biggest
Yes.
pain point is. So I love that when he says, "Don't get too caught up in your name,"
Mhm.
because everybody's an onion to unpeel, so including you. So I think his recommendations to start were UVB.
Yes.
So he was going after virus bacteria. with
Yes.
That.
So explain that a little bit for the listeners. Like, what
because
is UVB?
I get like UVB ozone is my personal favorite treatment at Deeper Healing because that's what healed my husband. My husband had a very serious autoimmune condition, which was Epstein-Barr virus, which if I pulled that up right here, it would say the exact same thing. There is no cure for Epstein-Barr virus. And if you want to be depressed, join an Epstein-Barr support group on Facebook. People are suffering horribly with that virus. And UVB healed Marty within 5 weeks, and he was completely bedridden. So I get really passionate when I talk about that. So
explain what it does really quick.
so what it does, you take a small amount of your own blood and it runs through wide spectrum UV light. Ozone gets added, O3, so super oxygen gets added to your blood and it goes back into your body. So what it does is it pulls down bacteria and viruses. We talk, people like now it's very commonly known that UV light kills germs. Like people use it to COVID, especially everyone was like, let me sanitize your phone or let me sanitize your floor. And they'll use a light. How UVB started was a group of children who had yellow fever. This was like in the turn of the century. They were all dying from this virus. And someone had this idea like, what if we could kill the germ with UV light? And they took some of the children's blood and they ran it through UV light, and all 16 of the control group of children survived. So that was the beginning of the technology. And by the 40s, it was used widely across the United States in hospitals. when they got rid of that technology was in, I think it was like 45. And this is all in the book, Invisible Cure on Amazon. If you're interested in learning about the history of this, it's a great book by Tom Lowe. When penicillin came on the scene, they were like, penicillin, it's a panacea for everything. They literally chucked the machines in the garbage. They were chucked. 2016, Harvard wrote an article and said, we need to go back to the cure that time forgot. Because we all know antibiotic resistance has become a massive problem in the US. We have MRSA, we have sepsis, we have all of this medical issues from the overuse of antibiotics. And here's something using light and oxygen that is not only healing, it's very inexpensive and it's very easy to use, and there's really no side effects. There's a lot of side effects from the overuse of antibiotics, as you saw.
Yes.
And we see that a lot. We'll see a lot of Lyme patients come in. They're like, I've been on antibiotics for a year and my gut's a mess and I'm still sick.
Mm-hmm.
So as an example, so I'm really passionate about UVB ozone. And the other thing that excites me about it is, your body is telling itself what to do. So when you have an autoimmune condition, and I mean, Marty used to hear this all the time from the many doctors we saw over the years. They would tell him, your body's attacking itself. And I saw him, and I see a lot of people, you disassociate from your body, like, oh, my body's the enemy, which is like a really weird place to feel about yourself. And really, it's that your body's like shooting cannons off, right? Because it's like there's something wrong. Yes. It doesn't know what it is. UVB ozone creates the flag. It's like, this is the problem. And since you're getting back just a small amount, the treatment only takes like 35 minutes, but your body's working on it for 3 days. And that's why the course is like, you'll see patients do it like Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, because by the end of the 3rd day, it's not doing anything anymore and you can hit it again. So Marty did his for 5 weeks. At the 5th week, he completely recovered. Like, it was crazy. It was like straight out of a movie. Bedridden to completely better in 5 weeks. So you started with UVB ozone.
Mm-hmm.
How often did you do it?
I did it as often as I could, which
like
I
twice a week?
It was twice a week. Yes.
Yeah, awesome.
And I would do the low dose. They have a high dose and a low dose, and he recommended a low dose.
I kind of like it when people are local. All our stay-in heals that travel in, they're here for a very short period of time. They'll do a standard and they'll follow it up with a high dose, and they'll do 4. Each high dose is equivalent to 3. So it'll end up being 10 total, which is like amazing. But for someone local, I love standards. Standards are like slow and steady. You know, it kind of wins the race without going so hard. Nothing wrong with just doing a course of standards. So I love that for you. That was a good way to do it.
It was, and everybody says, well, how'd you have the time? I'm like, just make the time. I do it
when you're sick, you make
the 35 minutes.
Right.
It's not even like it takes that long.
I mean, at that point, I had all my hands wrapped up, trying to use tools without your fingers because they were just gone. And because I can remember this to this day, Doc B will still rag me about, remember when you came in, you wouldn't shake my hand? Because my hands hurt so bad. I said, even if you just slightly squeezed them.
Just you saying that. Okay, I just had a memory. I remember because we had talked on the phone, and I remember the day you came in. First of all, you shuffled.
Yes.
You were not
shuffling.
walking. You were shuffling.
Oh, your legs were affected too?
Yeah, my muscles were just like, I always wear work boots on the job, and I'm a fanatic about that. I would tell all the guys, don't come here if you think you're wearing tennis shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I got to the point where the boots were too heavy. I couldn't lift. And I was shuffling. I didn't realize I was shuffling. I thought, but I had to start wearing tennis shoes because they was a lot lighter and easier to walk in.
So you shuffled in, and then I walked over because I was like, oh God, this guy's suffering so much. And I went over to hug you because I'm a big hugger. I always hug people the front. And you literally were like, don't touch me. And I was like, oh my God, okay. I remember that. You couldn't be touched.
Yeah.
And you couldn't even walk.
Yeah.
And I felt, oh gosh, it's so
Doc
crazy.
Beal, he'll still to this day rags me about that. Yeah, keep it up. Remember when you couldn't even shake my hand? Because I'll go in there and give him a hard time or something. But
I mean, it's so hard because now it's been years of you just being normal Tim.
yes.
It's like, it's hard for me to remember how severe you were
in
when
the
I first
morning,
saw
because
you.
it was cold, of course, I would have literally, I couldn't turn the ignition on my truck because of that wrist pain.
Mm.
I would have Kim go out. I said, Kim, can you go out and start my truck? She goes, what are you going to do when you have to leave? I got that all figured out. I had a pair of channel locks, and I would use a channel lock so I could get both hands on it to turn it.
Oh man.
And I was climbing up my ladders and still, but I was I get halfway up the ladder and have to take a break because I was so tired.
So you see Dr. B and you
Yes.
start UBV. So now, you did and that's the injection where you're like getting an
It's
IV.
it's an IV.
Yes.
And then
That's
so
so
you did 2
impactful.
of those.
I kept doing
A
them
week.
for a month or so, and Doc was like, how do you feel? The same, Doc, to be honest. I said, the same. Because, it's going to take time. I said, yeah, I understand that. I said, but I don't. He goes, well, we're gonna mix it up a little bit. I'm gonna put the ozone in there then, and we're gonna start.
So the ozone is boosting your immune system.
Okay.
So the one is like the way that it works synergistically is like the light is pulling down
Okay.
the virus bacteria, and the ozone is pushing. Well, I used to say boosting the immune system. The reality is, if your immune system's revving hot, it's going to calm it down. If it's in the pooper, it's going to push it up. So it's
Okay.
kind of like it's the leveler. But the great thing about it is it does what you need. You
Yes.
don't have. It's not like something where you're like, I'm pushing it up. I hope that's the right thing. It's the body is telling itself what to do. So that's what's so exciting to me about UVB. And it helps with so many different things, whether it's shingles, Ebola, Epstein-Barr, or,
Room.
rheumatoid arthritis. So, okay. But then he added something else to your regimen.
Yes, and then he started. He goes, we also need at the same time to get your thyroid back in line because you have a reverse T. Or I didn't understand anything.
Reverse T3.
Yes, and he goes, that is playing a critical role. That's one of the first things we need to address.
Mhm.
We got other issues going on, but while we're doing this, let's start addressing some of these very serious that we had to get reversed. And he did give me script medicine, and he says, now I remember the prednisone.
Mhm.
He goes, I'm going to give you have to have it. I go, Doc, I don't really want that stuff. I just don't feel good on it. It makes me tired, lethargic. He goes, I say, okay. Well, I never took it. So I'd go in like 2 days later or so for more UB, and he'd say, what the hell? Are you in that much pain? I go, I'm all right. He goes, no, you're not. What's going on? I go, well, I'm just sore. He goes, do you need me to up the dose on your script for your? I go, I'm not taking it. And that's when he blew a gasket. That's the first time I saw him. And then he got to the other side of me. He goes, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
He goes, you'd rather be in pain than take a pill? I go, well, I don't want to get addicted. I hear all them horror stories. And he says, look, if you allow your joints to stay in this kind of, because your muscles are all in spasm, if you allow this, he goes, you're not going to have no bones left. It's going to just ruin them. So once we get you better, you're going to need a hip surgery. You're going to need shoulder surgery. I go, well, I don't want that. Then take it. So that's what convinced me. I got to follow his regimen to the T. I can't just piecemeal what I think
And
is.
that's to take the prednisone.
Yes.
To get the inflammation under control.
He goes, you just have to get it to where you can rest and you're comfortable, because you being all
Tense.
and everything is making it worse and making my job harder.
Mm-hmm.
So then when he finally made day, he goes, this is not going to be a lifelong thing. You got to get that, we got to get to where you start seeing the light before we worry about you getting addicted to it.
Yeah.
I love that about him. He always says we don't use a lot of scripts at Deeper Healing, but of course, in fact, oftentimes we're taking people off their scripts, but he always says sometimes you need the big boy meds,
Yes.
and it's another tool in the toolbox. When you need it, you need it. And I feel like he's very judicious about using it.
Yes.
And tapering down when it's the right time.
Yes.
So it's not that here's your med, take it forever kind of thing. That's funny.
That really gave me some feeling like
confident.
I'm at the right place.
Yeah,
yes,
confident.
And then he explained how he went through it and how he got better. And he spent 20 years in the medical field in the ER. And he said that's all I had to do is I had my 2 jobs. You either get admitted or you go home. I had a script. You got this pain, you get this pill, you got this. And when I heard that, I'm like, okay, this is a guy that understands that he's been sick himself. He understands this is not where we want to be.
Well, I think too, there's like a time and a place like for using those meds. And I'm always teaching patients, there's an order too. And I love what you just said, because if you don't fix the thyroid first, like the thyroid here is like that master regulator, and that gets overlooked so much for people out there that are trying to heal. So, and I'm always saying, you got to make sure thyroid's in good shape, and because that's the rate of metabolism, the rate your body heals. And then 2, like your adrenals, like if those 2 are off, you can't get better. And then 2, you had so much inflammation. It's like you got to get that down.
Yes.
And then we're going to go in and modulate the immune system. So the order you do things is so important. I feel like people are just out here throwing drugs and just kind of doing things like all out of whack. Just it's like, oh, it's this. I'm going to try this one thing and not. But like from what you got from Dr. V at Deeper Healing, it's like just the whole full picture of everything. Yes. And that's what's so special, because that you usually go like, what happened with the Myrtle Beach doctor?
Yes.
And it's just like, oh, he got like sucked you down like this lime rabbit hole.
Yes.
That you were like, okay, well, maybe makes sense. I'm going to try it. But, it's like people, I feel like they get so pulled away from just some basic things like the thyroid and the adrenals and your gut. And
that's exactly what Dr. B said. Bring in your meds when you come in, when first appointment. And it was so funny because I set them all on his desk and he's like, holy shit, you're taking all this? Yeah. I'm like, yeah. He starts taking the stuff, throw this one in the trash, throw that. And I'm thinking, there's $30, there's $50. He goes, what the hell is this?
Oh my God, I see that all the time.
People people's supplements.
Supplements. He's like, this is junk, this is junk, this is junk.
And I'm like, I need that. He goes, no, you don't. No, we're going to limit this one's okay. He goes, what's for your thyroid? That was his first.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. He goes, this is the first thing. This thing's so far out of whack and it's reversed. We're not, and you have nothing here for that.
Yeah.
He goes, he threw the kitchen sink at you, but forgot about the most important.
Exactly.
Just like you said, thyroid.
And then the other thing that got added is low dose antigen therapy.
Yes.
Which I think that you believe was a huge factor for your recovery.
That was my boost of confidence. The first shot, and I don't know, I left it in Doc B's hand. He goes, it's a live enzyme. We're going to put in you. And I remember him having that little lunchbox cooler. It has to be kept cold.
That's right.
And he just shoots it barely under the skin in each arm. And I'm like, well, the first time I'm like, yeah, here we go again. I think it's once every 30 days you can have another.
It's every
longer?
2 months.
2 months, okay.
And he really likes you to be strict about that.
Yes.
Because people are like, he's like 8 weeks we'll look at the calendar and we'll literally plan it out. It gets spaced out after, I think, the 3rd or 4th one if he says so. But, and you have to be on a special diet for 3 days. So I'm sure you became a pro at doing that.
Yep.
But like, I say to people, you can do anything for 3 days. It's
That's
really
what I
just,
said, yeah.
it's
the mind
just
again.
It's the mind game. I've done LDA myself. You know what I didn't like? I didn't like not wearing makeup. Everybody's got their pain point.
We'll talk about LDA for a second.
So I want to talk about LDA. LDA is really amazing. And it's actually how I found Dr. B when I was trying to find a doctor to create deeper healing. Someone had said to me, because I was singularly obsessed with UVB ozone. I was like, it healed my husband. The people I saw were like MS, Lyme disease, all these Parkinson's, all these no treatment, no cure people. I saw them all recovering. And they said, Dr. Michael Bauerschmidt does low dose antigen therapy, which is so progressive. Very few physicians know about it. You should go talk to him. I bet he knows about UBI ozone. I was like, okay. So LDA, it's funny. It's intradermal injections on the forearms, because when people hear injections, they think, so it's just little pinpricks, super microdosed. And what it does is it reduces sensitivities to foods, to chemicals, to mycotoxins. It's incredible for anybody that has, let's say, a severe life-threatening allergy to a food. For people who are incredibly sensitive to lots of stuff, chemicals, molds, foods, it literally expands their runway. We need to do an entire podcast just on LDA stories, because they're just amazing. So for you, and usually LDA, people don't even notice it, especially with kids, it's really quick. For adults, it's usually after the third or fourth,
Yes.
they'll start to notice
Yes.
it. Because he'll say, like, you're not going to notice anything for the first couple. But
Mhm.
then all of a sudden, you're going to be like, oh,
It,
whoa,
it
I feel
was
really different.
it was literally like that for me. After the third one, I'm like, okay, something's different. I mean, you can actually tell something. And and that's when he started on the third one. He also started putting PK in with it. And the PK, my understanding was it was for the rheumatoid arthritis that was showing up in the blood work. He said, this will help.
And what's the PK?
I don't think I even know.
Is it a peptide?
It must have been a peptide
Yeah.
because he would add it with the
Yeah,
injection.
there's different things you can add to the
Yeah.
serums
Okay.
based on what he's trying to do.
Yes.
We can definitely ask him about that and get more detailed
And that was
information
like-
because that's when you're getting into, like, I call him the mad scientist,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
area of how he does things.
And that was when he did that. He goes, we're going to continue with that. There's your.
That was your
like,
magic bullet.
That was like the magic. He goes, the UV is helping you tremendously, but it's a slowly, but you really responded good to the LDA with that PK. Because I never forget that. I'm like, oh, another. But
so when was the day that you knew, oh my God, this is
The fourth
working?
the fourth LDA.
No, but I mean, what did you feel? Like, how did you know? Like, was
I mean, it
all of a
was like-
sudden you're just like feeling really different?
Oh, yeah. I felt like 10 times lighter. I had a pep. I could lift my feet. I mean, I just felt like this whole
pain
big
reducing,
weight came off of me.
the inflammation.
Yes.
Was
And
it like overnight or was like every day you got a little better?
every
a little
day I was
better?
getting a little bit better, but it seemed like after that fourth LDA, that very next day, I'm like,
like this.
like,
did it?
like you could see the clarity and everything was like, it's going away. It's winning the
Wow.
battle. Because Doc B would sometimes say, you know, the LDA with the PK and that can retrain your cells in that to stop attacking themselves.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right.
And he
That's
goes,
right.
and right now your body is in hyper overdrive, attacking anything it sees. And unfortunately, the
Yeah.
muscles, it loves on you and it's just gonna, and this is, he goes, but you know, we got to build it up and build it up. And I think that's why it took 3 or 4 before
Mm-hmm.
it finally started. And like I say, when it kicked in, it kicked in. I was like, this is really,
And it was
So-
every 8 weeks. So 4 rounds of
Yeah,
the 8
so-
weeks.
So yeah, you're talking about, you know, almost a year.
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to say one thing. What I love is everybody wants a magic button. They
Mhm.
want to hit a magic button. They
Mhm.
want to be better, especially a guy like you who's like, I've been healthy my whole life. Now I'm debilitated. What's happening? Right. So now you're being asked to be a little patient. But the difference is at Deeper Healing, we're always going for sustainable, long lasting healing. We want, like he always says, I want people when they're done with us, I don't want to ever see them again.
That's what,
I want them to go back to life.
yes.
And I was like, yes, that's like amazing.
Yes.
That's what you want. That's what my husband's been better for years. You've been
Yes.
better for years,
And-
both with diseases that have no treatment, no cure based on Google. So what you could have done, what I see a lot of people doing, which a lot of people who are going to watch this are doing, is they're going down the road of immunosuppressants, or they're going down the road of medications. All medications have a shelf life, right? There's going to be a point. That's why we know, like, whether it's an SSRI or, you know, you could pick the medication and then all of a sudden, like, oh, it's not working anymore. You know, you need to switch your medication. But they never talk about, or not enough, the side effects, the liver damage, the other, like, oh, we're helping this, but we're hurting this,
Mhm.
you know? So they're not really long-term solutions. But when you're facing, there's no cure and I can't live like this. I mean, you'll gobble glass. You're like,
Right.
give it to me, whatever, you know, I don't care.
Yes.
I mean, I've been in that myself when I had my back surgery. It was like, I'll do anything.
Yes.
You know, you're in so much pain. So what I love about your story was you decided to put your trust, your instincts, whatever. You were like, okay, I'm going to trust this guy and I'm going to follow this path for a little while. And then all of a sudden you started seeing like, okay, I think this is working. I'm going to stick to it. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm out.
Yeah.
And you're not on medications.
No.
You're
No.
literally back to work.
Yeah.
you don't have, and I mean, how many years has it been?
It's been 5 years now. Five
Yeah,
and
so
a
this
half.
is 5 years, no RA. Oh, we have to tell them about Dr. McCarter. That's such a funny part of the story.
Yes, she was.
So another physician at Deeper Healing, Dr. B's out or whatever, and so you're in to see McCarter. And she's looking at your blood panel.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, what made you think you had rheumatoid arthritis?
Yes.
Your blood panel's perfect.
Yeah. And I just met her. So, because Doc B was out, so I had her. And I said, I don't know. I said, that's what the blood work or whatever. Doc. And she goes, well, I'm looking at your chart now. And she says, let me go back in your file. And she went on the computer. And that's when she pulled it up that, oh, yeah, I seen you have all the markers in your blood. She goes, well, that's really, you don't have it anymore in your blood work showing markers for it. She goes, that's really something that just doesn't happen. And I was like, I don't know anything about it. I said, I know how I feel. She goes, geez. And she was just impressed or just dumbfounded that.
Yeah, usually you don't see like a rheumatoid factor in like getting the
Disappear.
the sedimentation rates. You have like all these CRP, like they're really big inflammatory autoimmune markers. And the way in conventional medicine, once they're there, like you pretty much have them for, unless you've modulated your immune system, you've decreased the inflammation, like your whole body systemically, like all of that coming down is most doctors don't see that often.
So I love this. This is straight out of Google. There is no cure for rheumatoid arthritis. Well, is there? But early and aggressive treatment will lead to a better outcome and periods of remission. So one of the things that I've seen a lot of people do is they go down the traditional road first. Like most people, I have my, and I have to say, Marty and I did the same thing. I have my insurance card. I go to my doctor. I go to the hospital. They make a recommendation. I do the recommendation. Most people come to a deeper healing after they've exhausted those things. Like they're not working anymore. They're not working well anymore. They're having a lot of bad side effects. They're wondering, is there anything else that can be done? I think partially why you got a really good outcome was you went quickly down that road. And so when you recovered, you didn't have a lot of long-lasting damage.
Yes.
So I feel like, my God, if we could have gone back in time, I mean, Marty and I lost almost 10 years. I wish I could have known what I know now, back then. Time is priceless.
Yes.
Not to mention. So let's talk about your costs. UVB ozone was $250 a treatment. And you said you did that twice a week for maybe 10 times.
Oh, I probably did it I did it for almost a year.
Okay. So let's say you did, I don't know, I'm going to make it up, $2,000 worth of it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then LDA, I always say, is like the cheapest bang for the buck. That's $250 every 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe your entire recovery cost $4,000 over a year's time. I'm making it up.
Yeah.
So you went back to work.
Yeah.
Hopefully you made more than $4,000.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
and that's not even including the human suffering.
Right.
And, so, I mean, I have the conversation a lot about finances. And I think it's helpful for people to know, well, what does it cost? What does recovery look like? What does losing years of your life, what is the number for that?
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you for us, it's priceless. I would do anything to get those 10 years back of our life, our marriage, raising our children. So you were very fortunate. You were very fortunate. To figure it out quickly, to have a wife who is we're not doing that.
Right. Right. That was the hugest part. She definitely was not, because I was like, well, that's what he tells me to do. That's, I should just go there. She was like, oh, no, we're not. No, that's not even an option. We're not. And thank God for her, because that helped me say, oh, okay. What do I know? I don't know anything about doctors. And
yeah, I want to have this conversation real quick, because do you think you would have found deeper healing without your wife?
No.
And so what would have been your route? Let's just pretend you didn't have Kim. Do you think you would have just stayed in the conventional?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
And probably ended up doing infusions and
Well, Doc B told me at best, he goes, you'd be in a wheelchair right now. Your kidney would be about done. So would your liver, and
Yeah.
you'd be a mess. That's blunt how he tells me.
Yeah.
You'd be in a wheelchair, and your liver and kidneys would be done, and you'd still be on every med and prednisone and that. And that's all they know to do.
Gosh, that's amazing. And here you are, like building
Yeah.
houses.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, not to brag, I feel great. It's just
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, so what? Like, where are you now? What are you taking medications?
no, I don't.
Are you?
I don't even like to. I'm one of them. I hate taking Advil. I mean, I just want. I'll deal with pain if I have. I sprain something. I don't want that junk. It's not me. I don't. Never done drugs. Don't want nothing to do with it. Same, alcohol and all that. I have no use for it. I work out every day. I have my whole life, and that was some of the hardest part is to go back to the gym. And everybody there, and they're like, "Oh my God, he's benching like 50 pounds." I mean, I was somebody that I could do the max and 315, no problem. And
So you had to rebuild your strength
oh
and like
gosh,
kind of
yeah, I
start.
didn't have any. It was
Yeah.
embarrassing. I mean, it was hard because just to lay there on that bench and that. And this is during the recovery with Doc B. I said, but now I got to right back to where I was, and they say, well, you shouldn't even be trying to lift that kind of weight anymore because you're getting up in age. Hey, I feel great.
You're building
Awesome.
houses.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
living
doing
life.
all-
It's been 5 years.
I'm doing more than I did before now. I mean, I haven't. This, if anything, it's now I have maybe too much energy, too much go. But that's how I always been,
That's
and
amazing.
I've
That's
been
amazing.
very, very fortunate. But I know if I would not have found Dr. B and you all, it would have been like he said. I probably would be in a wheelchair and just taking pills.
It's unbelievable.
It is.
It really is
Mhm.
unbelievable.
So what advice would you give someone out there who has RA and like feels like they've lost hope?
That's the first thing I would tell them. You haven't is your mind. If you are 100% convinced that this is the only option you have is popping pills, or then no one can help you. It's your mind telling you, like everything in life. If you can't do something, you're right. You can't.
And part of it is too, like, I know for me, it was I would say I was a regular person. I trusted.
Yes.
Like, so I think part of it is like, if you trust the system and you trust, whatever your doctor says. I mean, I did that
I
for
did.
years.
Yep.
So when I talk to people, I'm like, I get it. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't a medical person. I wasn't a person who questioned. The doctor said jump. I said how high,
Yep.
and I did it. And Marty did too. It wasn't until years and years of this isn't working. What
Mhm.
the heck are we doing? It was like, road of hard knocks. And so I see a lot of people like that. So for the RA people out there, here's a story. Here's a different way to go. And what I love about you is you're just a regular guy.
Yeah.
You're not a doctor guy. You're not even,
No.
most of the men, I love that you asked that. Would you have done it without Kim? Because I see a lot of the men get dragged in by their wives,
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of, because deeper healing is an environmental practice, a lot of the guys that we end up seeing have a lot of environmental exposures. We've had demolition guys, they go into moldy houses where there's a tree growing out the side of the building and they're knocking it down with no mask, and then they have mycotoxin illness. They're like, I didn't even know that was real,
Yeah,
Paint,
because my
sweater.
doctor didn't tell me
No one
that.
told me
Yes.
that was harmful.
Yes.
Or the OSHA laws are like, you should shower, you should wear a mask. And I'm like, I don't need that. They kind of don't buy into it.
Mhm.
So we'll get a lot of those type of people. Or they'll be in their 50s and they'll start having the aches and pains. And they're like, I'm just getting older.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's you can
the
age
worst.
really well. You can
Yes.
age sharp. You can age strong. You're a perfect example.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing, and I'd look at my friends, some of them, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to say how old I am because I'm not your age. You look like, I mean, but they've accepted that.
Mhm.
They,
Yes.
oh, I'm 50 now. I'm going to have a sore back and knees and this.
I see that all the time.
I'm like,
I see that
well,
all the
they
time.
can do stuff for your knee pain and that. I mean, they got all kind of but they don't even look. They just,
I know.
Well, and one thing too with men that I've seen, and just if there's any men looking out there, and I don't know why it is, it comes back kind of to a mindset thing. And I think just generationally too, especially with the older demographic of men, it's like they put these doctors up on these pedestals, and it's like, I'm seeing the best doc at Cleveland Clinic, and he told me to do such and such because it's, this research study, or it's like, it's all these like authoritative, like I'm just like but they listen to every single word, like you said. It's just like but the women over here, I think, are a little bit more curious about other things. So I think your wife pulled you in a little bit, but like that male mindset, and I don't know why I've seen it over and over again, because, and too, from talking to him, like, we're not here to convince you. Like, you have to kind of be open and ready for this stuff. Like, I mean, what we're doing is researched, and people are doing it all over the world and get tons of results. But the whole, just the mentality of like, oh, my doctor like tells me to do
and that's
this, and he recommends
honestly,
this.
everything the doctors are saying is backed up by Dr. Google.
Yes.
So, everybody's looking up the name that they get, which, I can't even tell you how many people will come in with symptoms, right? Joint pain, neuropathy, a list of things, sometimes the exact same list with totally different diagnostics. And I'm like, that sounds a lot like this or a lot like that. But for some reason, along the line of someone they saw, they got this name instead of this name.
Yes.
It's irrelevant.
Just a name.
Just a name.
It was just a name. But that's the best point is, like you said, is Kim, if she wouldn't have said, oh, hell no, we're not going there.
Yeah.
I'm like, but like you said, a guy, I'm like, I'm a professional in the building department. Let me do my job. And I don't like the customer that has to micromanage or so I felt the same way with the doctors. I never had no experience. No, the professional advice was, you go see a rheumatoid. Well, okay,
here I go.
I'm going to listen to this professional because no one wants to listen to me. So I'm going to do what, he got a medical degree. He's supposed to know what he's talking about and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until I had all this where I found out, and even Doc B would first say, don't trust him. And it's sad.
Yeah.
Because they got a script. That's how they were taught.
And he was taught the same way.
And he was taught the same way.
It was a long journey of him awakening himself.
Yes. It wasn't until he got sick himself that he figured out.
Yep.
And that's a story for everyone. I mean, you really don't know until you get sick and then you go through it. It's like just I did a ton of kids with autism, and, the parents, they have a normal kid. And it wasn't until, oh my gosh, like, something happened or they started to become symptomatic and the doctors don't have answers. You just like, until something happens.
Yes.
It's unfortunate that you really don't start seeking out these other options, but we're so glad that you had Kim there and she brought you over.
And Tim, I've been stalking Tim for a few years now to tell his story because it's a really powerful story. And you don't hear it very often. You don't hear a lot of people out there talking about their debilitating RA gone. Not even showing up on a blood test, back to home building. So may this inspire people who are out there suffering. I always say the right people find the right message when they're ready. May someone out there, thank you for being willing to share your story. It's huge for people. You give them hope. You give them a path. Like I always say, if we can just shorten someone's path to recovery, that's literally what this is about. Another thing I want to just mention about you in particular, Tim is an amazing home builder. And one thing that I think is very special about you is you know how to build houses that do not have mold in them.
Yes.
And that is a big problem in the Southeast. And Dr. B constantly uses Tim as an advisor on properties to, look at the situation. I think you have a fair, you're really good at assessing a property. Can this be fixed? How can it be fixed? How to build it, what they did wrong. That's an amazing skill set that I know a lot of people locally would be interested in. So I just want to give a little.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, we'll put his
hello.
info in the show notes.
Thing about Tim Turner and his home building.
Yes. Well, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for sharing your
Thank you.
incredible story. Your journey is a reminder that when you do feel like hope is lost,
Yes.
there's always a path to healing.
Yes.
So thank you guys so much for joining us. And until next time, thank you.
Thank you.
We hope this episode inspired you. Here's how to go deeper. Visit deeperhealing.com to become a patient. Online, we have loads of courses and a free toxin quiz. Subscribe and please, please share this episode with someone who needs it. It's always that one-on-one support that really gets people to find deeper healing. Remember, this is educational content, not medical advice. The information shared here should be discussed with your own personal healthcare provider. If you're excited by listening to the medical experts or the personal recovery stories on here and you want to start your own deeper healing journey, go to deeperhealing.com and start your process.